Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Pre-K-12 Education Talk Radio. Today, September 13th, 2023. My name is Larry Jacobs, and I'd like to welcome you all here. You might be listening on the archives, and we archive everything in a million places, but also at our home website, which is where all the places you might listen to podcasts to, Apple, Pandora, all that sort of stuff. But we also, I'll obviously put all of them over at our website at ace-ed.org, which is the home website of our American Consortium for Equity and Education. And we hope you go over there. Everything's free for you over there. We really are concerned about equity throughout pre-K-12 and even into the higher ed category. And we really want you to help us go over there, see what we do. Look at our magazine, which is called Equity and Access Pre-K-12. Okay, it is an online journal. You can click through over there. You can participate in our Equity Awards, Excellence in Equity Awards. Everything's free, all right, for educators. So please check it out over at ace-ed.org. We're pretty proud of that website. It's got a lot of great information. It's a pretty lively place to go. Check it out. Okay, we've got a great show for you today with some good friends from the National Association of Elementary School Principals. Thank you, Kaylin, over there for helping me put this show together. We got a big one here. Okay, we have the new president, Dr. LIZA CARABALLO-SUAREZ. Hello, LIZA. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good. And yourself?
I'm fine. Call me Larry, please. It's a pleasure to have you here. Okay, and I just want to introduce you. You are the new president. Congratulations, by the way. Okay, of NAESP, and you are, I don't think you're the first female, but you are certainly the first Latina president of NAESP. It's a big deal. Congrats.
Yes. Yes. Yes, it is, Larry. It's a way of celebrating diversity in our country, you know?
It sure is. It sure is, and I look forward to the day, and I mean this with all the respect in the world, that we don't even have to say that anymore, that people of every diverse nationality and ethnic group are just involved, and that's all there is to it. And I think, we have one step at a time. You're an incredible stepping stone, and I can't wait to hear all the wonderful things that you have got planned for the organization and what you're doing. And now I'm going to ask you to brag a little bit before we talk about NAESP. Okay, Liza, talk about your role as the principal, and I love this, the Magnet School of Architecture, Engineering, and Design, which I did not know was even there. It's PS number 120 in Brooklyn, New York. Tell us about your school.
Correct. Larry, first of all, let me thank you for having me on this show. This is really an honor to be here. Now,
it's an honor to have you.
Thank you. In reference to my school, and this all goes back to diversity. So when I talk, it falls under the umbrella of diversity, equity, and me being as a student, not having these things, assessing my building and, looking at the 21st century, I wanted to change. I wanted to bring things to my building that we didn't have and that students didn't even know about. And I always wonder, why do we have to wait till we got to high school, high school or college to talk about engineering, architecture, and designing to children? Why don't we start them at an early age? Mm-hmm. So I decided to apply. Everybody thought I was crazy, but hey, that's part of life. You gotta make noise for these kids. And I applied, and prior to that, I have to inform you that I was a magnet school of multicultural education through social studies and the arts. So again, bringing that culture back home. So coming back to the Magnet School of Architecture, Engineering, and Design, I wanted to bring that work into my building so that if the students were building or designing, this is all part of life. This is where you begin to instill these ideas, these tools, so they can take that, be long life learners and decide as they go up, to middle school and high school. And so we bought several, and I'm not endorsing them, but I just want to let you inform that we bought a company called Beam. They came in, they taught the teachers how to work with wood, tools, because, we're not afraid of working with tools. We usually contract a carpenter or get someone else to do it. No, this time we had to do it. And like Larry, fundings are always, they disappear after a while. So we had to make sure that we train them so that this continue throughout the theme, and the teachers were there and students will learn. And so, Larry, every year we have an architecture, a festival of architecture, engineering, and design. Kids are actually building. Either we tie it in with social studies, so it's not outside of the curriculum. You know, it's like if we're learning about, let's say, England, London, let's look at the buildings out there. Let's compare it to what we have over here. So there was a connection. The teachers loved it. The kids loved it. The parents loved it. And let me tell you, Larry, being there now and having this program for quite a while, I've had kids come back and say, hey, thanks to you and this program, I've now done enter college, engineering, architecture. So, yeah, it starts young. You have to start them young, Larry. You
got to start them young. What grades are your schools? PS 120. What grades?
We have 3K, the 3 years old, all the way to 5th, and that includes anywhere from students with special needs to English language learners. We don't isolate anyone. We include them. We believe that kids can learn regardless of who they are.
Of course they can.
And we also include the parents. Sometimes we bring in parents for workshops so that they can know what their babies are doing.
I think it's great. And by the way, Liza, what you said before, architecture, engineering, and design, PS 120 in New York, Brooklyn. Okay, I got to tell you, that's never outside any curriculum. Okay, you can apply those skills to anything we are supposed to be teaching. All right, in K-12. Believe me. Okay,
absolutely.
So you put that on the right track, and you get these kids engaged and excited. Okay, and I think it's just terrific. And speaking of being engaged and excited, okay, you going to have this is an interesting year. Okay, today is September 13th. Yeah, 13th, and on September 15th. It's Hispanic Heritage Month. And as I mentioned before, you're the first Latina president of NAESP. Again, congratulations. And, it's really cool. Okay, the timing is perfect now for Hispanic Heritage Month. Put all that together. I mean, it's got to really mean something to you. It's really cool.
Wow. Larry, you are so right on this. And, yes, I am going to brag a little bit about what's going on and who I am and what I've done.
You should.
It's an opportunity, first and foremost, it's an opportunity to recognize and celebrate the contributions that, Latinos have made throughout the nation. People have to understand that they've helped our society and culture through their contributions, whether it's in music, sports, art, policies, etc. We take this time out to celebrate Latino culture that exists in the nation, but it's more than that. It's having Latino education leaders in schools giving hope to our students that there are people that look like them and speak like them, and they can understand the Latin culture. It sends the message again. It sends that message that, wow, I have a dream. I can achieve my goals. If I have someone in front of me who's just like me and they did it, I can do it. And it's not just, and not that I'm demeaning any careers or
you are not.
Anybody.
You are not.
But, it gives them to step out of their comfort zone, to be that architecture, to be that engineer, or even to be that other teacher, or even a principal and say, I got that, So, Larry, as you mentioned, as the first NAESP, first Latina, I am proud and humble to represent the many Latinos educators. It's a testimony that the progress is being made on educational leadership, but let's not forget, Larry, we still have work and challenges that still lies ahead of us.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have to make sure that students have access to equitable education. Breaking barriers in education leadership is more than just being the first Latina, to hold us to.
That's right.
It's about opening doors for other Latinas and women of color who are inspired to be, to have leadership roles in education.
Good point.
We have to challenge the status quo and create a more equitable and inclusive profession.
We do. I agree.
My part is, it's advocating for educational policy, and I like to advocate for policies that support Latinas in leadership roles. That would eventually, we always say, okay, we have these policies, we have these. Where are the resources? We need to give them these tools and resources to be successful. So, it's really important. You know what, Larry? And I'm sorry, because this is my passion. It means ensuring that all the schools reflect the diversity of our community.
That's right.
As leaders, we got to step back a little and say, okay, who do we have in front of us? And who's missing? Where's our representation so that all the students can have access to roles who look like them?
Yes, I do.
And I come from a school. My school's we have a lot of Hispanics and blacks. And when I first got there 24 years ago, Larry, I was an assistant principal. And now I've been principal for 20 years. This is my 23rd.
Wow.
And I love it. And I love it.
Congratulations, Liza. I got to tell you, that's great.
Thank you. And it's like, to me, it's like coming in like the first day. That passion will never die out, because when you have that passion in you, you're willing to change to make sure that things are up to par so that students can get the right tools in their hand and resources. So when I got there, there weren't a lot of people, staff members that look like the kids. There weren't a lot of men. Men are usually in middle schools and in high schools. I needed to put that to change. I needed to change that. And over the years, I was able to get more male figures in our building. And Larry, if you ever come to my building, which is in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, you will see. Wow. You will see the changes. You have males of all color, race.
That's
you
great.
Have young.
That's great.
I encourage paraprofessionals to come in because they're the future teachers of tomorrow. Larry, I've even hired former students of mine. The teachers there, and it's amazing when people are a little ashamed to say it, but hey, it's an honor. And most of all, Larry, I have to say this. I know we first of all, as the president, I'm going to use my platform to continue to advocate for these changes that I believe in. Breaking barriers in education, but more important, Larry, and this is something that we must never ever forget. While this month is designated to Hispanic Heritage Month, I got that, I understand, but we must remember. All of us, we must remember to celebrate our students, and not just 1 month. We must celebrate them every single day. I know we have specific months for this. No, I believe in celebrating every single day.
It's really amazing, and one of the things I love, especially when I interview African American educators, and it might be the same for Latina and Latino, but specifically African American female educators always refer to their students as scholars. They never refer to them. Or rarely as students. They always say my scholars, and I always love that. Okay, because it's a different way. It's an important way, of a respectful way to look at kids and what you do, what we all do for a living. I used to do it. You do it now. Is teaching. And if they're not learning, they're not teaching. You're not teaching very well. All right. It's all about the kids learning. All right. And the whole point is that, they are scholars, and we have to recognize that and really make them appreciate. And it's interesting what you said, because I was watching a TV show last night on PBS about all the challenges that were years and years ago now in Boston, okay, about the busing situation. That's a new documentary on the PBS, and brand new, just was on the other night. And one of the points they kept making as the African-American people in Boston were trying to get the schools more equal back then was that there weren't any African-American teachers, okay, in all the African-American schools. Yep. And even talking about 50 years ago now. All right, it's just amazing, okay? And we have to still work at that all the time. And to the point of you being the new president of NAESP, we have to be sure that leadership also reflects a very diverse culture. And again, it's not to say that white people, black people, whatever, Asian people shouldn't be principals, etc. We have to look at what we're doing and present to them a very diverse faculty, a very diverse staff for a very diverse student body, and a very diverse administration. And I think that's really key these days. And I got to ask you something, Liza. You know, I don't know if you're having trouble, but across the country there's a teacher shortage. And there's also, and you know this, a principal shortage, or I should say the principal pipeline is pretty empty these days. Okay, and you know now you've got this national podium to speak on. You know, as the new president of NAESP. Talk about that challenge out there of getting people of all diverse cultures involved in education, and then getting them to be leaders.
That's a very good question, Harry. It's something that I've seen my colleagues have done the challenge, and it's a challenge we're going to have years to come. Let's put it out there, because this is something that it's not started. It's been there. The only thing is now with the pandemic, you can see it even more. It exacerbated the problem. So moving forward with that, I will tell you this. Yes, I've had about this year we had 3 teachers. Which are moving, because you know it's difficult living in New York City because the cost of living. Okay, they get married, they have kids.
Yeah, it's
high. So a lot of them left not because they didn't want it, but because they have to. You know, they have you as a leader. As a leader, we plan ahead. I'm going to first talk about a principal, and then I'm going to branch it out to what I'm doing at the presidential level. First and foremost, you know, you have that sharp eye as to, okay, you listen as a principal, you're a good listener, you know what's coming down the pipe, you know some of the teachers are leaving or what may not, so you prepare and you start advocating, you start asking, you start marketing your school as well.
I love that.
It's easier than you know, it's easier said than be done, but the thing is, you have to continue. You also, and I've mentioned to you before, that I had my paraprofessionals who were my students. So this is like a long progress. You start building up as to how do you want to move your school forward, and what happens in those cases of emergencies, those days of what if. So you have, I always tell my teachers, have plan A, B, and C. Listen, they might not always work, but you'll be ahead of the game, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank God we only have 3, but I've seen others that are really, you know, are really struggling to get teachers in. At the presidential level, I have to tell you with this, I have been I've been advocating with some of my colleagues here at Capitol Hill about, you know, what does that look like? How can we, you know, move forward? How can we market this career that people are afraid to coming in with all the challenges in the world? You know, I mean, we can start somewhere from, let's go back to the loan forgiveness. You know, how do we market the fact, or how do we? I'm so excited. It's like I can't even talk.
Take your time. You're doing great.
How do we, you know, those loan forgiveness? How do we continue to advocate so that when they go to college, especially minorities that can't afford it, you know, how can we push them there? I think that's a huge help to begin with, you know. Second of all is when we're in college or those universities, I think that's another thing we should start looking into. What are the curriculums there, and how do we prepare these aspiring principals? Because it's one thing being in the university, and then it's another thing entering the public school system or entering schools. So that's another thing to look into. How do we prepare them? And then how do we prepare the teachers as well as aspiring assistant principals to become principal? So that's just the start. We at Capitol Hill, we talked about Title I, Title II. You know, as you already know, they're thinking about cutting those federal grants. So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. In
another.
fact, the federal budget is going to be, in process, as we all
Yes,
know, these next few weeks. Yeah.
yes. They're thinking about how to eliminate Title II, which Title II is professional development for not only teachers and principals. So how do you expect to prepare a principal to prepare or professionally, grow professionally, and then turn to their staff members if you're taking away the funding? So that's
right.
really huge. From there, of course you're going to get teacher burned out and principal burned out. Of course, all that comes.
And what you're saying, I got to say, Liza, what you're saying is what I've been saying for many professional development. If we start to lose professional development, okay, we're going to lose more and more teachers because teachers have to keep up with what's going on in the world. Education changes just like medicine changes. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
You have to keep up with it. All right. And if you don't keep up with it and keep yourself engaged and lifelong learning, if I may, like we always advocate for yourself. All right. And also, if you don't watch your mental health, which is also these days part of professional development, social, emotional aspects of the profession. OK, you're going to wind up thinking about leaving the profession. And that's a vicious cycle. We can't afford to have more people leave the profession. And what worries me about it, quite honestly, is I actually sometimes tend to think that there's some people in the government who want to end public education and are doing what they can to make it end. And we got to fight against that. We have to fight against that.
I know you can't see me, but I'm laughing from behind, from my home over here. And you're absolutely right. But this has been going on for years. Again, it's just, and you said something, and I have to go back to it. Changes. The life changes, and if people don't change with times, that causes others to come up and say, well, you know what? Let's try a new system. Let's have this school. Let's go to private school. Let's go to charter school. Let's do this. Let's do it. So, of course, it all revolves around professional development, giving principals the tools that they need to do. And again, I just want to reiterate something. When we come out of college, university, we don't. They don't give you. It's like combat. Combat. You get trained out there, And I'm sorry to say, but I'm going back to my own personal thing.
Yeah.
And experience in school, you learn, and then from there you have a choice. Through professional development, you get stronger. Yeah. And sometimes people feel that, they're left alone. And that's what's happening, Larry. A lot of our principals don't feel appreciated. They feel it's a thankful job. And if you only knew what principals, you do. But if people out there really knew the amount of work that principals do besides just being called a principal, it is amazing, They go beyond the call of duty. They look at the child, the whole child. They spend more time with your child in school. Some kids are dropped off at 7 a.m. and they're not picked up till 6 p.m. Where their counselors, where their nurses, where their doctors, because the first thing is they come to you. So you're looked at, okay, here you are, you're the head, you have all the answers. No, we don't have all the answers, but you know what? If there's a child out there with a situation crying, we're going to sit with them and we're going to find out, because that child is like my child. And we need to be there for them and give them that comfort zone, Yeah,
we do. We do. I have to ask you something. You're going to laugh when I ask you this, okay? And actually, I've said this in many different ways. You are the principal of what's called the Magnet School of Architecture. It is a Magnet School of Architecture, Engineering, and Design. It's a PS 120 in Brooklyn, New York, at Old Williamsburg. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, all right, educators tend to do this all the time. My standing joke is that you go to a career fair at a high school, and there's a booth for every profession except teaching. Okay? We tend to push the kids into everything but teaching. And you're now president of NAESP, and I'm always curious, how come I don't think anywhere in the country Is there a specialized public school, let's say a high school, or even an elementary school, okay, that specializes in getting people to be excited and become teachers? We want them to become engineers, doctors, performing artists. Okay, look at New York. Okay, science, whatever the case may be, STEM, but we never create the curriculum and the specialized program to invite them into our profession. And it's an interesting quirk to me in K-12. What do you think?
Well, I beg to differ a little there.
Sure, go.
We're not talking about colleges. That's different. I'm talking about. See, I truly believe.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I mean public schools.
Right.
Yep.
I believe that it comes from within, and if you have the right teacher in front of kids, okay, regardless if it's a specialized school such as mine, it doesn't matter. The child will make the connection with. It's all about building relationships.
I hope.
Okay, and it's about how do you turn. Remember, we're all shaping students' lives. Okay, their mind, everyday society. So how do you bring that up to the front line? And some of my teachers have done that with their children, and that's why we're able to hire paraprofessionals or even teachers who were my students 20 years ago. But we're not talking about.
I love that. Now. I love that. And by the way, I love what you said. And this is something that rarely gets said, where you see the paraprofessionals as potential teachers. I mean, they are teaching. I don't mean it that way that sounds, but I mean as potential certified teachers. Okay, and I think that's fabulous when you look at people like that and see the opportunity they present and present the opportunity to them. I think that's a fabulous attitude. Fabulous.
Thank you. And it starts from within the school. Again, if you want to have the momentum of having great leaders or great teachers, what better than you yourself mentoring them, as a para? They actually see it on a day-to-day basis. They get to go to school, and then you can hire them because you actually see them in action for so long. So that's powerful to me.
It is good stuff. And Liza, let me ask you this. Your grade, your school's up to 5th grade, right? Am I correct?
Correct. At one point it used to be till 6th, but they changed that around.
Okay. Now it's 5th. And I'm curious, okay, because I know your kids I know this. Your kids would be extremely engaged and happy, etc. at PS 120. Okay, but now they're going to a middle school, whatever that might be called. They might go to different middle schools for all I know. All right, they don't travel necessarily as a group. All right, how do you coordinate with the principal of the middle or principals of the middle school? Okay, to make sure that they understand that these kids know this, these kids have been through this is the way these kids are engaged. What are you doing, my colleague, the next principal?
Okay, so that's a great question, and it's funny because I have a good rapport with my colleagues from across the district, and that's where it starts. You have to network, just like on NAESP. I have network across the nation. It also starts at home. How do you network? And one of the things I do is I invite my colleagues, my middle schools, to come and see my elementary students in action. I tell them, come have lunch, get to know who they are, come and play with them in the gym time when we have gym. So I invite them to come so that they can see who these children are, or scholars as you call them, at their within their own home, because they're comfortable. Remember, they've been with us for 5 or 6, 7 years with us.
That's right.
So they've only but know that school, most of them. So what they do is they come, they introduce themselves, not all at the same time, because we have different assemblies, different days, different activities. And then what they do is my colleagues invite them to their schools, because children have the option of going to different schools. So they go, and the parents are invited to go on the same trip to go and visit their school during school time so that they can see what's going on, And that will give the students a voice to decide where they want to be and what they like. So that's where it all begins. And it's not just a one-time deal. Sometimes the principal comes, sometimes the assistant principal. the counselor, and they bring students. It depends. If the students go to their school, they have T-shirts to give them, certain things to give them so that they can see the programs in action. And, of course, not to forget who they are. So it's about building relationships from afar.
It is.
And then my colleagues also, when my fifth graders graduate, sometimes they have summer school orientation and summer school activities so that they can participate. So when they come September, they don't feel, nervous, anxious, excited, or whatever you may call it. So again, and that's how we build the pipeline between elementary and middle school.
It's so darn important. And I want to ask you one thing as we wind down here, Liza, and this is great. You said it before, and I wrote it down and meant to follow up back then. Okay, you said I spend something, I'll paraphrase, I spend a lot of time marketing my school. And I think you're marketing it to not only, obviously, to the middle school folks, but I think you're also doing a lot of work marketing it, all right, to the community. All right, I would bet dollars to donuts on that one. Okay, that you spend a lot of time getting involved with the community, and I wanted to ask you how you must think that's very important. I want you to put that into a really good perspective, because to me that's an incredible part of being a principal. And I don't think I'm not sure they teach it in education school. Okay, talk about your experience with that and how important marketing is.
All right. So I will tell you two things. One is that about the marketing, the community. But I just want to go back something that I wanted to point out to you.
Sure.
And it goes back to the middle school. We believe that middle school principals need a lot of support because those are the kids that are transferring from elementary to middle school and then from middle school to high school. So I just want to point out to you that that's one of my goals to work on. And at NAESP, we're currently working with a group of principals to once again listen to the voices of the field. And we have created what you call a middle school think tank. So we want to give the middle school, it's like that middle child. We don't want to leave them out, so we want to give them that extra support.
Right.
So, that is another way of connecting, not only at a principal level, but as a presidential level. Now, going back to community schools, it is so important that a principal is visible in the community, whether it's greeting the parents, whether it's greeting the children at the beginning, whether it's going across the street and going to a bodega or going to a cafe or wherever it is, It's so important to listen and greet them, because once you do that, you see that the community is going to say, okay, this principal really wants to get involved. And not only that, again, it goes back to building those relationships that are important. And it goes even further than that. Once you get connected to the stakeholders, because that's huge. So you have the parent component piece, you have the merchants component piece, you have now the politicians. That's so important, because sometimes even the community will go out and advocate for you to your assemblyman, your congressperson, personnel, your congress member. They will do the work for you because they'll see what you need. But it's in constant communication. You have to be transparent. If you're not transparent, it's going to be difficult. So as a principal, yes. And that's how you also market your school. It's about like, look, we're out there. We need this. Come in and see us. I got the magnet grant. I'm going to tell you, I invited the congresswoman at the time, Nydia Velasquez, into my building, and she saw what I needed. I also, at the time, we have grants. And again, I want principals to know that, this is happening in New York City, but you also have your politicians that you can invite and bring them in. We have the council person. The council person had a grant called CASA. Years ago, I'm like, what? What is that? And he said, well, you know what? We're gonna give it to you because you've been paying, because we have a program. I wanted to bring music to the building. So we had a program called Afroland Jazz by Arturo Alfaro, and he was like, you know what? You're teaching kids music after school and you're giving them a spot rather than them be outside. I'm going to give you money. I'm going to contribute to this. And let me tell you, it is powerful. And again, it's going from inside out and bringing the outside in. And you get opportunities, you get grants, you build relationship, you're transparent. And, you know, you be aware of the situations and issues that are challenging and the inequalities that might be out there, so that you can then bring the resources so that these students can have, you know, a definitely equitable education. You know?
Absolutely, and it all begins, okay, the foundation is laid in elementary school, preschool and elementary school. That's the key.
Absolutely. Yep. And
it's funny.
You know,
it's funny. Most people remember, when you talk about teachers, they remember, most people, okay, remember high school teachers. Okay.
Yes.
But I'll tell you, the elementary teachers, okay, they're a little harder to remember. But what you learn in elementary school will be the road, start the road to success in the rest. It's that simple. We got to go. Liza, I'll tell you, this is just great. You know, you're going to come back on and we'll talk some more, and you're going to have a great time being president of NAESP. You got a lot to talk about, and you're going to just have a blast. You're going to have a blast.
Larry, if you bring me back, I will tell you this. It was one of my teachers who helped me find my voice, and after she helped me in the 4th grade, it was then I came out of my shell, and I am here today because she realized or recognized who I was, and I was able to feel value in school and continue with the success of today.
Boy, that is beautiful. I got to tell you, 4th grade teacher, there you go. It's just, elementary schools, what can I say? They're just terrific. Liza, good luck, and you will come back on. Believe me, I guarantee it. You'll be back on. Okay, so have fun. Have fun.
Thank you.
Okay, enjoy yourself. Next month's National Principals Month. All for you. Go for it.
And happy National Principals Month to everyone, and I hope everyone do take care of themselves. Self-care.
They will. Okay.
Right,
enjoy. Again, I'm sorry about the Yankees. I'll just say that to you. I'm sorry about the Yankees and the Jets. Sorry about that, pal. Okay. What can I tell you? It's been a bad week.
I know, including I know. Yep, I hear you. We'll
Thank
talk,
you, Liza.
We'll talk. Take care.
Thank
Enjoy.
you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Boy, is she terrific. That's Dr. Liza CARABALLO-SUAREZ, who is the new president of the National Association of Elementary School Principals, NAESP.org. Cool. And well, thank you, Liza. And thank you, Kaylin, again over there, Kaylin Tucker, for helping me meet Liza. We'll archive over at ace-ed.org. See what we do over there. I'm Larry Jacobs. Thanks for listening.